Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. Wow, Saturday mornings are becoming quite fruitful lately. Day 64, TowerGate, May 6, 2017. Boom! Breaking news everywhere. We got some doozies for you now, folks. Alrighty, let's get started with the first one. We got 4 major pieces of breaking news. One of them is gigantic. Here we go. I'm going to provide a link for you for an article on Breitbart. This is a story, again, Circa News, doing a fantastic job. They're all over this story, man. I'll tell you. So Circa News is reporting that they have just learned their source is Nima Giuliani, apparently no relation to Rudy Giuliani. She is from the ACLU. She's a lawyer from the ACLU, and they've been doing they've been doing requests for documents, and they have come into some documents that I think you're going to find very interesting, as will the House and Senate Intelligence Committee, President Trump, and now Rand Paul. They are finding that there were thousands and thousands of requests for wiretaps, for surveillance, many of them no warrants. No warrants issued, completely illegal. They have the documents. Nima Giuliani from the ACLU, an attorney. Thousands and thousands of emails, no warrants. Nothing to do with terrorism. Nothing to do with terrorism. Boom. This is being reported. This is a Circa News reporter that got this source from the ACLU, which generally the ACLU, generally not friends of libertarians or conservatives. Sometimes they are, but you know, they do have very, very good legal people there, and they do a lot of requests for information like this. So I'm not sure when they got involved in all this surveillance, and of course they're generally don't like to go after Democrats, but apparently on this type of an issue, when it comes to surveillance and civil liberties issues, the ACLU does pretty good. They give us a rough time on a lot of conservative issues, prayer in schools, abortions, late-term abortions, Planned Parenthood, all these things. The ACLU is generally on the wrong side as far as I'm concerned, but you got to give them credit when credit is due, and apparently they have come in contact and received documents showing thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal wiretaps and surveillance, no warrants, and nothing to do with terrorism. Boom, they got the documents. Circa News is now reporting this. I will give you the link to the story, which Breitbart did the interview with Circa. So you can probably find it on Circa's website, but I will provide the link that the interview was done with a reporter from Breitbart. So a Circa News reporter giving this information to a Breitbart reporter, and it's being reported on Breitbart News. I'll provide the link for you. Also, we learned from these documents that spying was significantly expanded on Americans during the period of the 2016 elections by the Obama administration. They distributed thousands of names, unredacted, thousands of names, unredacted, all across the various spy agencies. They made, these documents came from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So that's where they requested these documents. They came from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And that would be Mr. Clapper, Jim Clapper. Oh, not wittingly. Well, I don't know if it was wittingly or unwittingly or whatever, but the documents seem to suggest thousands and thousands of names during the 2016 elections, illegal spying, no warrants, names unredacted, spread all over the damn place. 30,355 searches, illegal searches in 2016 alone, which included names, numbers, and email addresses. And this does not even include FBI surveillance activity. They're trying to get those documents as well, but of course the FBI, it's much tougher to get documents from them, as we're finding out. They're not even cooperating with the intelligence committees on the Senate and House side, and apparently the ACLU is still waiting for those documents. So you can figure thousands and thousands more, although the FBI probably did it by the book. They probably did have FISA warrants. But what we're talking about, the illegal stuff, came directly from the NSA, and the information from the Director of National Intelligence via the ACLU. And this was information was given to a reporter at Circa, who then did his story with Breitbart. And basically, it says here also, according to this ACLU lawyer, that there are laws. And it says, according to this attorney, that the NSA ignored laws, even used a blimp to eavesdrop on citizens in Maryland. Used a blimp. So if you live in Maryland and you see a blimp flying overhead, guess what? Smile, because you're on Obama's candid camera. Oh, boy. Boom. This ain't good. This is not good, folks, for Obama and Susan Rice. Which brings us to Susan Rice. Trey Gowdy, item number 2. Not very happy. Gave another interview yesterday. Not very happy. He says he will subpoena Rice, and that he's going to get to the bottom of this surveillance, of this unmasking. Because she unmasked not just a few people, but many, many people, including those who were part of the Trump campaign, the Trump transition team, and even Trump after he was inaugurated. So this stuff was going on up until like the last couple days before Obama left office. Because they're crazy. Next we have Senator Lindsey Graham. As you know, I am no fan of Lindsey Graham. He is a salesman for the military-industrial complex. But apparently, Lindsey Graham says that he is now taking the position that he will not vote to reauthorize the FISA court until he gets some answers. He's not very happy that Susan Rice rejected his request, his invitation to come and testify in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. So he's basically playing his own game, which, remember, Lindsey Graham, despite all his shortcomings, he was a military JAG officer. He was a lawyer in the military, a JAG officer. So he probably knows how to play a little hardball when he wants to. And he's basically saying, hey, Susan Rice doesn't want to come and testify in front of my committee. She doesn't think I gave her enough time. She thinks it's not bipartisan enough. Fine and dandy. I'm not going to vote to authorize the FISA warrant. And that's critically important because that FISA vote, that FISA warrant process has to be voted on every 2 or 3 years. And it's coming up this year. So a lot of these people now on these committees are saying that they are not going to vote to reauthorize the FISA court until they get some answers to this surveillance that had been going on. So there we go. Things are ramping up. But the big issue, the bomb, the absolute bomb, is all over the internet. If you just type in right now, go to Google or Yahoo or whatever search engine you use, and type in Rand Paul spied on, or anything like that. Just type in Rand Paul. You'll get page after page after page. Everybody's covering it. It's on every major news site. From the New York Times to the CNN to Fox, alternative sites, everybody's got the story. Rand Paul tweeted out yesterday that he has now made a formal request to the intelligence agencies as well as the Senate Intelligence Committee to find out what's going on, because he has just learned, just like Trump had just learned, that Rand Paul has just learned. He's been told by several people, he will not reveal who, but he just found out he was spied on, and he wants answers. He's quite angry, very, very angry, and he said if that is true, that he was spied on by Obama and Rice, then they could be guilty of 2 counts of the violation of Espionage Act, which could get them 20 years in prison. I'm going to provide a link for you from a website, which is Puppetstring.com. And this story, of course, Puppetstring got the story again from Breitbart. So Breitbart is also covering this as well. Now, Rand Paul came out, and when he learned of this, he gave a couple of tweets out. And apparently he followed up his first tweet with a second tweet, and he's getting angrier and angrier all the time. He is now formally requesting, in writing, from the intelligence community, the Director of National Intelligence, as well as the Senate Intelligence Committee and the House Intelligence Committee that are looking at this issue. He wants answers. He is not a happy man. You know, folks, there's probably two people that you don't want to get caught spying on right now, and that is Donald Trump, who's now the president, who can make some things happen, and Rand Paul, the most hardcore civil libertarian in the entire Congress. Nobody more hardcore on these types of issues than Rand Paul. You get caught spying on Rand Paul in something like this, I promise you, he will not back off. He will not go away. Which, you know, my mind's working through this. So what are the sources? He will not say how he learned about this, but let's think about it. What does Donald Trump need right now? He needs to get his health care bill through the Senate. And who is probably going to be the guy that's going to be the hardest to get to sign on to that and vote for it? A vote they're going to need. It's Rand Paul, because he doesn't like the bill at all. He wants it to be a lot more free market. He doesn't like the fact that it still gives money to insurance companies and subsidizes insurance companies. That's a deal breaker for Rand Paul. So what does Trump need? Trump needs to get Rand Paul on his side. I've been telling you since the very beginning, I'm about 98% sure that Donald Trump knows this entire story. I think he knows exactly who did what, when they did it, how they did it, where they did it, why they did it, how they did it. He knows it all, I think. And I think that these sources that may have leaked this to Rand Paul just might be Donald Trump. Trump might have had some of his people give Rand Paul a call, or he may have done it personally, and he may have said, hey, by the way, I really need your help on the health care bill, and there's something I need to tell you. If you're willing to work with me on this, I'll give you some information you might be very interested in, being as how you are the big civil libertarian, and you hate the NSA spying, and have opposed you voted against the FISA courts every time he's had a chance. He votes against all the surveillance. So I think it's very possible that Trump may have been the one who leaked this out to, or had this leaked out to Rand Paul to bring another person on his side. Probably the number one person, because Trump probably saw the press conference yesterday just like I did and said, okay, you know, it looks like they're going to try to run a cover-up. Well, I need to get another person on my side, and who better than Rand Paul? And Rand Paul right now, I need to throw him a bone, and I need his vote on the health care bill. This might be Trump working the end around to try to make things happen to get Rand Paul to support him on the health care bill, at the same time feeding Rand Paul something that he would just absolutely go crazy over, which is to tell him that he was under surveillance. Trump probably has a list of everyone, but it appears it was thousands of people. And Rand Paul is saying that he's hearing it wasn't just him, but all the Republican candidates, judges, journalists, preachers, you name it. Apparently, the Obama administration was going hog wild, as was the NSA, with illegal wiretapping, illegal surveillance, no warrants, nothing, pure, flat-out illegal. And then unmasking all these names, unredacted names. It's Bombshell Day. So you got Rand Paul now in the game. You can forget about it. This thing is definitely not going away, because I can tell you, I'm a huge fan of the Pauls. I worked on the 2008-2012 Ron Paul campaign. I worked here in my district. I was an alternate delegate in 2008-2012. I'm a huge supporter of the Pauls, and I know Rand Paul. I've met him personally. Very nice man, very mild-mannered, but I can tell you he's a lot like his father. They're mild-mannered people, but you don't want to cross them. You don't want to cross them, and they are not part of the swamp. They're like pit bulls. They're like pit bull poodles. They don't look very dangerous, but but when you infringe on the civil liberties of a Paul, they'll work you over forever. Ron Paul never quit working on these people over this type of stuff, and Rand is the exact same way. So, you know, I think Trump knows all about this. And the two people that you do not want to get caught spying on illegally is probably Donald Trump, now the president, and worst person. There's no worse person that you could do this to than Rand Paul. I promise you, he is not going to let go of this at all. He will pursue it. He has already filed the paperwork, and he's tweeting about it, and he's pissed. And there's multiple articles that you can read on it. It's very, very clear that this is a type of thing that will really get under the skin of a civil libertarian, like the Pauls and myself. And I don't think this is anything that any of us ever doubted. It's just a matter of whether or not there was the courage to go after it. And I think Trump, like myself, watched that little press conference yesterday, the love-in between Conaway and Schiff, and I think he realizes that these guys are going to try to run a game on us and sweep this under the rug, try to make it all go away. I just think Donald Trump, to me, seems like he's got a bit of vindictiveness in his character, and if you cross him, he doesn't look like a person that will forget and just let you get away with it. And I can assure you that Rand Paul is Rand Paul is the wrong person. No, you surveil Rand Paul, and probably his father as well, because his father, of course, has his own Liberty Report show that he does, and so he's probably on that list as well. I mean, they've always been surveilling Ron Paul. He's the #1 enemy of the deep state. There's no bigger enemy of the deep state than Ron Paul, and Rand Paul's very good as well. So anyway, huge news. TowerGate, day 64, May the 6th, 2017. All hell is breaking loose. This story is not going to go away. I can assure you that now. It's amazing. It's amazing. And hats off again to Breitbart, Puppetstring, and of course, believe it or not, the ACLU. It looks like that they're the dark horse in all this. And again, I've never been a fan of the ACLU, but you can't question the talented lawyers that they have there. They have very, very good lawyers there, and they'll give you hell on civil liberties, and they are very, very good at knowing exactly what type of documents that they need to request. And if you've watched any of the court hearings or read through any of the court hearings that the ACL lawyers, when they go before the courts and stuff like that, these are very, very talented lawyers, the best in the country. These guys are, and people, I should say guys, this is a female attorney. So her name is Nima Giuliani, and apparently she was the source for Circa. Circa gave it to Breitbart. It's everywhere. You can Google it, and I think you'll be amazed at what you find out. And because it's not just libertarian sites like Reason or something like that. This is ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, everyone reporting on this now. It's, there's a point. It's just like any of these other big stories. A lot of times, say, if it's a story that hurts liberals or Democrats, the liberal left media will stay away from stories. But just like in Watergate, when nobody wanted to touch the Watergate story until it broke wide open, and then everybody jumps in and piles on. You have no real friends in Washington, D.C. When it comes to big stories breaking, once the dam breaks, everybody jumps in. It's a feeding frenzy. And if you Google Rand Paul right now, you'll see it is a feeding frenzy. Everybody is on this because they know that these other people that we're looking at on these committees, they'll play games, they'll do cover-ups, they'll try to make this thing go away. But once you get Rand Paul, most hardcore civil libertarian in the entire Congress, you spy on him, you've got big problems, because I promise you he will not let go. He will get to the bottom of it. And Donald Trump is sitting back right now laughing hard. He's probably behind it. He's probably the source. He's probably the one who made this information available to Rand Paul. And that's what I see. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. So anyway, happy Saturday, everyone. And Saturday for me and my girlfriend, that's our movie night. Saturday nights we order a pizza and watch 2 movies. We have to watch 2 movies because we don't like the same types of movies. So I have to watch her lame ass movies, and then she'll watch one of mine, which is usually a old war movie, because I'm a huge war movie buff. I love war movies. There's certain movies I watch about once a year over and over and over again. And so I like to watch all these old vintage movies and stuff, which just drives her nuts. So anyway, there is a movie though. If you, I like a lot of comedy and spoof movies and things like that too, and slapstick comedy and stuff like that. And there's a movie that if some of you haven't seen it, it's a really funny movie, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. It's called The Pentagon Wars. And it's a funny movie, and it's a great movie because it really takes a true subject, which is the incredible incompetency that happens within the DoD and a lot of the weapons programs, and things like that. And it kind of spoofs it in this movie. It's really funny. It has two central characters. The main character is Kelsey Grammer, who does a fantastic job. He plays the general who is the head of all these weapons programs that they're developing. And then what happens kind of in the plot is this honest Air Force colonel is put into the department to try to verify these programs and these weapon systems, and to make sure that they're a good expenditure of taxpayer money. And he kind of throws a wrench into the works, and the whole thing plays itself out. But anyway, if you're a little bored this weekend, you have nothing to do, or you got about hour 45 minutes of your time, or you just want to watch a funny spoof movie that's really good. It's a movie that never really took off in the theaters as far as in the line of spoof movies like Airplane and things like that, Naked Gun. But I think I always thought it was one of the best spoof type movies I've ever seen. It's a movie I watch about once a year just because I just enjoy it. And Kelsey Grammer does a fantastic job in his role, by the way. It's a really good movie, worth watching, and it'll keep you laughing. It's hilarious. So anyway, if you haven't seen The Pentagon Wars, check that on YouTube. It's free. You can watch it. And so anyway, just a note there. But big day in TowerGate, day 64, 2017. TowerGate. I'll be back tomorrow with. We'll see what shoe drops next. Y'all take care. Goodbye.